Rashmeet, thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you for having me here, Rashmeet and Rachel and Lean in India. Um, it's a very hard act to follow, and I know I'm standing between you and lunch probably, so I'll keep it quick. I also, I'll probably be looking at my phone as a cue card, so don't think I'm bored and looking at my Instagram feed. Uh, but no, really, it's the universe has sort of conspired in a beautifully serendipitous way for us, for Rashmeet and I and Lean in India to sort of start this new circle around he for she, and around I collaborated for the very first time with Lean in India a couple of years ago, and I'd been through certain experiences and research in the making of the film, and I came across certain data, and I discussed that with Rashmi, and she's like, we should collaborate and do something. And just last month, she said, we discussed this and we forgot about it. So why don't we start it? So I was like, I'm traveling most of January, and maybe when I come back in Feb, let's do it then. And serendipitously, I met Cheryl in Davos at the annual meeting where I was traveling to. And I told her about this inspiration behind the he for she circle, and she's like, and I was like, I'll probably be meeting Rachel at this event here. So she's like, what, you must launch the he for she circle here. And very naturally, my next call was to Rashmeet. I was like, let's club these two things that we're trying to do together. And so what I'll do is there is so much data that I guess you've already heard. The panel spoke brilliantly about how good examples work in good experiments and examples with women work in microcosms, the data to support it, which is really undeniable. So I'll sort of stick to certain stories, right, from my experience. And they may seem random and abstract at first, but I'll sort of bring them together into sort of how that inspired he for she, what we plan to do with it, what really is our why and what's our purpose like. And so quick why is, of course, I'm here to launch the Lean and He for She, and I could honestly end it there and be like, hey, lunch is, lunch is ready. But no, the sort of longer inspiration behind sort of me doing and me collaborating with Lean and doing this is, I've been a filmmaker for a short part of my work life, and we often see that people behind the camera don't get as much credit as the actors who are in front. And I read an example recently, I think there was some anniversary of the man on the moon landing, right? And we often say that, what is our man on the moon moment? What is a man on the moon landing like, and what does it represent? Often we don't talk about the women who got them there. It was a team of women actually who did all the calculations and built the software to ensure that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon. And so I sort of, took that as a topic and took inspiration from Joaquin Phoenix's recent BAFTA acceptance speech, where he said that it is the obligation of those who oppress, who benefit from a system of oppression, to really take the responsibility to dismantle it. And at the very center of it, I felt that men are a major part of the problem and hence need to be a major part of the solution as well. And that's where the idea came in from, and that's where I discussed it with Rashmeet, that let's bring in our learnings together to start it. And so the idea of Lean and He for She, our aim is really to get more men involved in conversations in the circles around India of how they can, what can their contributions be to not just to the awareness raising activism, but to the action oriented activism. We have to at some point move beyond just talking about it to being like, okay, this is what I'm doing on the ground to help, which I think Praveen spoke about beautifully on the panel. Right, and there's a study done about human beings which says that at our very core, we are all decent and humble people. Look in your Harvard scientists at some point, I'm scared to say because I represent the university, but Harvard scientists at some point said that, oh, this is not true. But if you look around in your circles, in your networks, you'll find that most people are humble and decent and gracious and giving and full of gratitude. That gets lost sometimes when we attach ourselves to certain relationships, organizations, systems. And there's a beautiful poem in Sanskrit, I'm forgetting its name, but it's from our scriptures, which said that our aim as a society, as a human, is not to remove evil people from the world. our aim as society is to remove the evil from them, because people at their core are, like I said, very humble and decent. And I'll club this with another story I heard about the Berlin Wall, right? Which, when Berlin used to be divided into East and West Berlin, one day the people from East Berlin took an entire, trash, took like trash and just dumped it on the West Berlin side, and in an act to create some sort of controversy. And what the West Berlin side did was they took they took a lot of canned goods, milk, bread, and they neatly stacked it up on the East Berlin side. And on top, they put a message saying each gives what they have, right? And so I really sort of, these two stories about our scriptures and about giving what we have really connected with me, and said that I don't think when we're trying to attack the root of the problem, when we're trying to bring reverse mentoring programs in, sponsorships in, there are obviously tools to solve and resources to solve. But at the root, human beings are giving and generous. And that's what we want to attack through the Lean and He for She Circle. Get more men in, make them realize that a lot of times our ideologies are frame of references for who we work or with who we work. And if you strip yourselves off that evil that it sometimes brings, you feel good about giving to other people, and you feel good about having a diverse, inclusive room. And that's one of sort of our aims with Lean In. I will end, though I still have some time. I'll be happy to take some questions afterwards. I want to end with three things, right? One of those three things is a video at the end. One is when the He for She campaign was launched, I think, by the United Nations a few years ago, Emma Watson said something very important. And she said, and this went back to my younger self, when I thought about gender equality, when it was not as big a movement as it is today. I thought somebody will solve it, somebody will do it. I want to focus on my academics and my career. And she said something that really touched the core of my heart, and I keep it not just at the bottom of what I am planning to do with Lean In, but of everything. She said, if not now, when? If not us, who? So that was a major motivating factor that spoke to sort of how some of her early biases were formed. Second was when I discussed the idea of launching Lean In He for She with Cheryl in Davos earlier last month. She said something to me that I felt was a clarion call, and I want to use that to put it out to all of you out there. She said, I and Rachel are here to help. Tell us what you need, right? And I just want to say that to all of you. Come and join the circle. Come and join the movement. Tell us which way to lean into, what to do, what are the best practices, what should we stay away from. Tell us about your experiences. What have you experienced where men can do better, where they can get more involved? How can we really create a he for she on the ground and not just in a name and a logo? And lastly, I think I'll let the video speak for itself. It is not a plug for my film in any manner, but Guru Nanak, over 500 years ago, spoke about gender equality. He spoke about women. He said that if there's anybody above a woman, it's God itself, right? And if you can just play that AV, and we'll end with that AV. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take it after. Thank you.
भंड जमिए भंड निमिए भंड मंगन व्याह हो भंडो होए दोस्ती भंडो चले राह भंड मुआ भंड भालिए भंड हुआ पांधान सो क्यों मंदा आखिए चित जमे राजान भंडो ही भंड उपजे भंडे पांच ना कोय नानक भंडे बाहरा एको सच्चा सोए एको सच्चा सोए.
I think it's time to sort of move beyond just dedicating one day to women, which I think falls in March, and just realize that every day is Women's Day, and every day is our day to lean in and practice he for she, if you will. Thank you so much, guys.